Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you. You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
It's the perfect answer. This is Tyler Yonke, LPR, coming to you Friday. I hope everyone's doing good out there. I hope everyone's streaming. I checked the streams. They have all appear to be fine. I hope I don't have the mute on. Give everybody a little chance to come in. I don't know. Or maybe we won't get any crowd in today, which is perfectly fine. I didn't announce it until just 30 minutes ago. But every Friday, you know, check it out. We're gonna be going. I think I've got it now going to YouTube, X, Rumble, and X and Rumble and YouTube. There you go. All those. This is Tyler Yonke, LPR. We do legal stuff. We do I don't know, sarcasm. Do some politics. We do some podcast review stuff. We do it all. We do a little drinking too. Anyway, I hope everyone's doing fine. No one in the chat. 0 people coming to see this show. Excellent. The stream appears to be solid. We're going out there just fine. So it says 7 viewers on X, none on anywhere. Okay. Come on into the chat, people. We're going to talk about a few things. Let's, matter of fact, right there. Look at that. Ross. Are we going to talk about birthright citizenship? I don't know. I was just going over my book here. Government by Judiciary, Raoul Berger. This is all about the 14th Amendment, mostly. A lot about the incorporation stuff, the intent. There's some stuff in there about privileges or immunities, which kind of goes into the birthright citizenship thing. Is this on? Will you tell me? Are you able to hear me? I hope you are, because it looks like to me I'm broadcasting loud and clear. So everything should be fine. So welcome, Jordan. So I don't know that I'm going to necessarily get into any birthright citizenship stuff right now. We could do that. I thought we would just go to some different stuff. I always have. And I was on Jose's morning dump this morning. We'll talk about Ross Ulbricht. There's some little things there I think I need to clear up. I did some tweets that got some good traction. So that was nice for me. I mean, we're talking, 3,001 or 10,000 or something like that on the other, which is not bad for, this good old boy. But which we could talk about too. But I think we'll talk first about Nick Rekieta. Okay, and let's go here. He's got his case is coming up, and you can see here on the docket, other order, investigation, evaluation, or assessment. I don't know what that was. Order pre-sentence investigation. We will talk about that. How basically with the Ross Ulbricht stuff, because that's actually that's some that's kind of plays into some of that. So we'll talk about that. They do a pre-sentencing investigation. There's a notice of a hearing, but then we had this petition to enter guilty plea. And so maybe we should take a look at that. There we go. Kendi Ojai County. And there shouldn't be anything to actually mark out here because, it's public. I don't know that, kids are what I worry about, not Nick stuff. Nicholas Robert Rekieta, defendant in the above. And by the way, I don't know that it's such a surprise that he is pleading guilty, partly because he had said so on a show not too long ago. And then, we've talked about it too. I mean, if you're his counsel, you're like, hey, unless it's Robert Barnes. Barnes is, I don't know what he fucks peddling right now, but I just saw he was on Malice, and I'm just like, yeah, same old shit. Now, he could be, like, I think he's really a big proponent. Roger Ver has been, yeah, that's an easy one to jump on. Doesn't mean that if we don't all believe the same thing, that I still don't think he's a, piece of shit. Dwayne's in the chat as well. Thanks for joining us. Thumbs up. So I guess all is good. Let's go through this. So my full name, 43 years old, my date of birth, last grade I went through in school is law school graduate, of course. I filed in my case, and I have received, read and discussed a copy of the indictment complaint. And we can look at all the, actually it's not that one. It's look at all the charges. Let's see here. Amended charges, drugs, third degree possession, 10 grams or more. So that's been down. Remember, it was 26, I think, maybe that. So I don't know if that's the same. Third degree sale or possession penalty, 20, maybe this is all 20 years, 250,000. Felony. Okay. Possession, ammo, any firearm, user in control, additional possession of any, okay, we know about that. That's a violation, a gross misdemeanor. Endanger child, permit, present, sale, possession, controlled substances, endangered child. So those are the three counts that he's got. In interim conditions, we've talked about that as well. But let's keep going in here. So those are what he's done in the indictment, and he's read that. Good for him. Drugs. Oh, it actually has all three of them right here. Drugs in the second degree. Now, we just saw that it had been amended to the third degree. So I don't know which one of these is right. Maybe, I don't know. Possession of ammunition and child endangerment committed on May 23, 2024. Yeah, as Dwayne says here, when you're caught red-handed, you don't have many choices. No, and we'll talk about that, I think, with some of the Ross stuff here as well. But because I believe, anyway, we'll get to that. I'm represented by an attorney whose name is Francis, easy Francis, Ulbricht White III. That's such a gay name. Sorry. I know it's her name, but, attorney reg number, okay, and A, I feel that I have had sufficient time to discuss my case with my attorney. I am satisfied that my attorney is fully informed as to the facts of this case. My attorney has discussed possible defenses to the crimes that I might have. I am satisfied that my attorney has represented my interest and has fully advised me. I have never been a patient in a mental hospital. Well, just because you'd never had any felonies before this too. It doesn't mean that you weren't a criminal, or it didn't mean that you don't need mental help. January 6ers can purchase, Smile and Be Happy says, January 6ers can purchase guns again. I believe that is correct. I believe with a pardon, you're expunging your record, and they would be able to. So I don't know all the details, but I think you're right on that one. Shannon with the hands up. By the way, Shannon reminds me, I came in here on inaugural day. I'm like, I'm going to do a stream. I'm going to stream the inauguration. I started it up. There was all kinds of little problems. Shannon was pointing them out quite nicely in the chat. Thank you. And then the stream just got tanked. Was not around. So Top Lobster invited me on, and I sat for a few hours over on the Nephilim Death Squad with him and Raven, and Clint was in there. Jose was in there for a bit. Austin was over there. So that was a good time. Okay, so he's never been had a mental hospital. I have and have not. So he did both of these, talked with and been treated by a psychiatrist or other person for nervous or mental condition. Eesh, I don't know which one is the strikeout. I can't tell. I have not been ill recently. I have not been recently taking pills or medicines. I do not make the claim that I was drunk or so under the influence of drugs or medicine that I did not know what I was doing at the time of the crime. Okay, interesting. I do not make the claim that I was acting in self-defense. Okay, I do not make the claim that the fact that I have been held in jail since my arrest and could not post bail caused me to plead guilty in order. Okay, well, he didn't do that. I was not represented by an attorney when I had probable cause hearing. I don't know which one of those. Anyway, these are all these statements to make you sure you're doing this of your own volition, and you can't come back and make appeals for the fact that you were too inebriated or whatnot. So, and by the way, we do those in family court. The judge usually voir dires the party. when they're making a stipulation in court, and sometimes they'll say, have you been on any medications? Is there anything that you would, are you being forced to do this against your will, whatnot? My attorney has told me, and I understand that the prosecutor for this case against me has physical evidence obtained, body cam footage as a result of searching for seizing the evidence in the form of statements, oral, written, I made to the police and others regarding this crime, evidence discovered as a result of my statements, as a result of evidence seized, identification evidence from a lineup. Okay, just going through all the possibilities here. That I have a right to a pretrial hearing before a judge. That I do not now request such a pretrial hearing, and I specifically do waive my right to such pretrial hearing. That whether or not I had such a hearing, I not be able to object tomorrow or any other time to the evidence that the prosecutor has. I have been told by my attorney, and I understand that if I wish to plead guilty, I am entitled to a trial by a jury on the issue of guilt, and all jurors would have to agree I was guilty before the jury could find me guilty. That if I plead guilty, I will not have a trial by either a jury or a judge without a jury. That the knowledge of the right to trial as an issue of guilt, I now waive my right to a trial. Okay, it keeps going on here. Plead guilty. So look, I'm not gonna go on all this. It's just your boilerplate. Cover your ass, and you sure you really want to do this because you're really in it now. You don't get no takesies backsies. I have been told, I've been told my attorney, and understand that my attorney discussed this case with one of the prosecuting attorneys, and that my attorney and the prosecuting attorney agreed that if I entered a plea of guilty, the prosecutor would do the following: give substance of the agreement. Okay. Plead guilty to the amended charge of drug possession in the third degree. Okay, that makes sense. Before they had second, now it's third degree. Statutory stay of adjudication pursuant to Minnesota statute section 152 spot 18. I don't know what that is. Remaining terms of the sentence of the court's discretion. State drops all other charges. State dismisses 34 CR 24-342 against Kayla Rekieta and the case against April Imalte. So he got his bitches taken care of. Okay. By the way, this is something this motherfucker should have done probably a long time ago, right? Take it all in the chin yourself. I don't know about April so much, but for the wife, I talked about this before, which is you got this horrible scenario where it's these two degenerates. There was a possibility that they're going to both go away to jail, and now you've got the kids out there. So what are you going to do? All these kids. But Nick was never really all in for concerned about the kids. He said he was. I don't believe it, but J6, they were political prisoners, says Dwayne. I get it. I hit the like button. Yes, you did, Forrest Mommy and Jessica. And you also gave some money a few weeks ago on Rumble. Love it. Appreciate it. If you guys do any Rumble rants, which I appreciate, let me know in the chat, because I don't know if they'll necessarily come up over here for me to see. This is the type of list that got the YSL guy arrested on probation violation. Which list? That the court does not approve of this agreement. I have an absolute right to then withdraw my plea of guilty and have a trial. Any testimony I've given concerning the guilty plea cannot be used against me unless I am charged with a crime of perjury based on this evidence, on this testimony. Yeah. So this is all in the effort to compromise, and that's your typical civil has that as well, which is the efforts of compromise. I send a letter to someone. We're trying to negotiate, and then you don't get to go into trial and say, yeah, but they've just offered me this. No, because they want you to negotiate. So, he's doing the right thing here. He's doing a plea. And then if the judge, and I saw Kurt and some other ones, I think Sean did this as well. There was a judge out there with the J6 thing he had been found guilty, but they hadn't sentenced him yet. So it's in the middle, and the judge, doesn't want to do these pardons. At least as Trump was giving them out. That except for the agreement between my attorney and the prosecutor, no one, including my attorney, any police officer, prosecutor, et al., any other, has made any promises to me, any member of my family. Okay, so yeah, no one, including my attorney, police officer, has threatened me. Okay, My attorney has not threatened me. No, it has told me, and I understand if my guilty plea is for any reason not accepted by the court, or if I withdraw the plea, the court's approval, or if the plea is withdrawn by the court order or appeal or other review, I will then stand trial for the original charges. The prosecution would proceed against me as if there was no plea of guilty and no plea agreement. My attorney has told me, and I understand that if my plea of guilty is accepted by the judge, I have a right to appeal. My attorneys have told me, and I understand the judge will not accept a guilty plea for anyone who claims to be innocent. Okay, I now make no claim that I am innocent. I mean, look, are we going to hang this over Nick's head because he's, J6ers pled this? You're kind of in a bind. You're there, and they're gonna get you, as Robert Barnes has said. This was just made up stuff. It was completely without grounds. And so Nick saying that he's not now innocent doesn't mean he's actually guilty. I'm gonna say he's guilty. I'm just gonna do it. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's on a piece of paper. He says here, under the penalty of perjury, I now make no claim that I am innocent. How many times will we hear him saying that he's innocent, though? That's the point. I have been told by an attorney, and I understand that if I wish to plead not guilty and have a jury trial, that I could testify at trial if I wanted to, but I could not be forced to testify. That if I decided not to testify, neither the prosecutor nor the judge could comment on the failure to testify. Remember, that was Rittenhouse. They tried to put that out because Binger was out there making those. He really overstepped his bounds. That would not, but the judge still let the trial go. That with the knowledge of my right not to testify, and that neither the judge nor the prosecutor could comment on my failure to testify at trial, I now give up this right, and will tell the judge the facts of the crime. Oh, interesting. My attorney has told me, and I understand that I'm not a citizen, that if I'm not a citizen of the United States, birthright, this plea of guilty may result in deportation. Okay. In the consideration, I enter a plea of guilty. January 24, 2025, Robert Rekieta, and then he puts his email there. If you want a .org, you have a .org email. What a dumb fuck. All right, let's look at the chat over here. When you're caught red-handed, you don't have many choices. Yeah, J6ers can purchase guns. Hit the like button. This is a list. Oh, we talked about that. I'm catching up, but all the streams were being nuked. Yeah, right. Not this one, right? But the ones that day. Yes, they were being nuked. Good point. On our agriculture. What are your thoughts on Fani Willis subverting the Georgia Senate and withholding FOIA info? No plea until Nick admits to gay stuff with April's toy boy. Thanks for smile. And Hamilton says, will the body cam footage be released? So my understanding on the body cam is that's why it hasn't been released right now until they were to go to trial. It would then be released. And I think before that, Nick had to, or one of the parties had to basically consent to it being released. I don't think it's going to be released. And I don't think I don't know, maybe, I don't know. That's a really good question. That's some hope here. Let's go back to the thought. I don't know exactly about I know Fani Willis, there was a whole trial that they had about her office and that total douche not giving up the documents, and the big titted hottie lady attorney was doing some good work in there. I don't know. I haven't really been keeping up on there because Fani Willis is just a mess. She's a complete mess down there in Georgia, and they should be embarrassed, just like California should be embarrassed with Gavin Newsom and others. But they are, and the country with Joe Biden as an example, but they're not. Incompetence, as long as it's on your side, there's really no problems with that. But I haven't looked into it enough to really know. So anyway, there's Nick. So evidently then Kayla, hers is getting dismissed. I mean, we can, I think I can look at this. Hang on. Do I have, yeah, I have her case number. Let's see if they show her dismissal. Well, I think they have to do a sentencing. So we could talk about that too. There's what's called pre-sentence investigation. And what they do with that, I mean, it's different. Okay, there's Kayla's drugs, second degree, view the case. It's still open. So they have not dismissed hers yet. It looks like notice of a hearing. Yeah, but that doesn't look like they've dismissed hers outright yet. Okay, so you get sentenced. Okay, you get sentenced, and then they do a pre-sentencing investigation, and that's usually done by the probation officer. Now, I don't do criminal work, so I'm not too up on all of it, but I noticed it there. I've been involved in 2 federal cases, reading about them, which highlighted this situation. One, I've talked about a little bit. It's McCoy, and he was the guy that basically did the copycat of D.B. Cooper. Then he had his federal case, and then, they got a bunch of info out of him during the pre-sentencing investigation, because it is this, and what it happens is the probation officer gets to interview and do background on you, all kinds of information, okay? And then they get to present that your crimes, the impact of those crimes to people. So, Nick doing stuff and getting his kids back here is going to play a part. So I'm not a fan of this necessarily, because you can see the standard for doing that is different than if you take your whole case to court. As an example, Ross Ulbricht. Let's talk about him real quick. Ross Ulbricht, and maybe I should actually just look this up because I did a tweet on it, and if I find the tweet, then we can at least look at that. And where to go? Let's find this one. I pinned it, and I'm not looking at the pinned tweets. There we go. We'll go here though. Okay, so there's my Twitter page, Pod Review. Okay, so let's start with this. Michael Knowles. He did this thing. It's like, I'm not going to lose sleep over the clemency offered to Ross Ulbricht, but there's no reason to celebrate it. Beneath all the dubious ideological ornamentation, he's an extremely successful drug dealer and an alleged attempted murderer. Okay. And this guy says, what do you allege? He did or he didn't do it? Well, and so then Knowles comes out here and says, it was found by preponderance of evidence that he probably did, but prosecutors didn't pursue it after he was sentenced for other crimes. I said, preponderance of the evidence is a civil standard. What are you talking about? Which did fairly well, but as you can see here, he gets a lot more views on that. But then someone did mention to me, they're like, hey, he probably read that off of Wikipedia. So then I went to Wikipedia and I looked it up, and yeah, they talk about preponderance of the evidence. But then I looked deeper into that, okay? And I found the appeal. Ross appealed the case, and then on the appeal he lost, of course. But it broke down exactly what we're talking about here about this pre-sentencing stuff. And so I tried to at least free myself a little bit from the dubious comments that I had made, even though I was, feeling like I was roasting Knowles here. So I put real Ross Ulbricht was convicted criminally beyond a reasonable doubt standard. So why is Knowles referencing a civil standard, preponderance of the evidence regarding Ross and the alleged murder for hire commissions? Let's go. Okay. So let's start here. Knowles, I can't even read my own writing. Knowles is ill-informed, but smart enough to do enough research to get him in trouble. Ross had a jury trial and was convicted on 7 counts. None were for murder for hire. After conviction, a probation officer conducts a pre-sentence investigation report, PSI or PSR, under Rule 32 of the Federal Rules on Criminal Procedure. This report goes deep and well beyond what it was presented in court. It can include personal background, employment, willingness to accept responsibility of the crime, and the impact of the harm caused by the offense. In Ross's case, the report went deep into the murder for hire issues that were not charged but alleged. In the report, the court found that beyond a preponderance of the evidence, Ross had commissioned the murders, believing they would be carried out. The same judge, not the jury, stated in her sentencing that Ross was privileged beyond a drug dealer from New York, C. Bean White. And here it is. Here, let's read this. There appears to be, in some of the articles that were presented to the court, some view that there is a moral ambiguity and about some of the drug distribution. There is no moral ambiguity about it. I mean, come on. It was just wrong. And that is what our democratic process had said, and there is no way to change the law, but it is not going to, but it is not by doing what occurred. No drug dealer from the Bronx selling meth or heroin or crack has ever made these kind of arguments to the court. It is a privilege argument. It is an argument from one of privilege. Okay, so we go there. And then I go on. I said, therefore, while the standard of criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt, the judge sentenced him for being white and also for the facts not brought before the jury and at a lower standard of proof. This isn't unusual, but it is misleading. The PSR also gave a maximum sentencing guideline, and I believe with counts and offenses suggested 20-year minimum, or sorry, minimum of 20-year sentence was suggested. The prosecution, paid by the government, the judge, paid by the government, and obviously woke, all wanted the maximum and more. And then here's the jury verdict, which we can actually go over. Here it is. So count one, distribution, aiding. Okay, so let me catch up on what I'm talking about there. We've talked about the multiple standards. Okay, beyond a reasonable doubt, preponderance of the evidence, and what's the third one? Jeez, it's it's the one I use all the time in court. Anyway, it's a low one. It's just a barely above 50% type of thing. And the bottom two ones are used in civil court all the time. Okay, beyond a reasonable doubt is what we know, and you've got to be beyond a reasonable doubt, in criminal court. So it is a little, and there was I'm trying to remember the name of the case. We talked about it was a gun case because we have these new standards that have come about the understanding of gun laws should be based on historical precedent and whatnot. So one of the guys, I don't remember his name. It's a Mexican sounding name. He beats up his girlfriend. He does all this bad stuff to her. He then goes and they arrest him. No, she files they have a criminal restraining order against him. Okay. He pleads guilty to that. The problem with that is, now that was a criminal one, but oftentimes with this, and they talked about this in the Supreme Court case, because then he comes back later, he has a gun, he's like, there's a restraining order against me, and now you're taking my guns away, and you shouldn't be doing that, even though I should have a right to do it, just because of this. There's automatic that when the restraining order is against you, you have to give up your weapon, okay? Now, with that in mind, typically in family court, the restraining orders are all based on okay. Now I'm gonna have to fucking Google it, right? Because it's a low standard that we're talking about. That the restraining orders are. And let me Google it here. Standards of, this is really embarrassing because this is what I deal with all the time. Evidentiary standards of proof. Here we go. Okay, it's not even. Now, why are they not coming up? Anybody got him? Anybody? Rahim, yeah, Rahim was the one you were talking about. Why are they not giving me these? Someone should just list them out, like bam, bam, bam. Here's the list. Understanding legal standards of proof. Reasonable suspicion, no. Probable cause, substantial evidence, preponderance, clear and convincing. Oh, there we go. No, preponderance of the evidence is what I use all the time. So clear and convincing is your middle standard. Oh, sorry about this. It's been a rough day with drinking already. So you have beyond a reasonable doubt. You have clear and convincing, which is like your 75%, and then preponderance of the evidence is your low level. Balancing just got to be over 50%. Okay. So, which is an easy standard to get. So you can imagine someone, Rahimi, as you mentioned here, was not necessarily a good guy at all. And now that one, I had a tough time because I went through it all, but it looked like that was a civil restraining order or a criminal restraining order, which actually would have been beyond a reasonable doubt standard. But like I said, we do a lot of these that are on the civil side, which is, preponderance of the evidence. It's very low standard. And then your gun's taken away. And this should be heightened scrutiny if you're even talking about just your fundamental rights being taken. You should not get a gun taken away based on a preponderance of the evidence. Here, you've got a preponderance of the evidence. Now, that's what the judge determined. In the appeals, they talked about it. So maybe we need to actually look at this one here. Let's go to this docket. Hope everyone's doing good. Here we go. So I'll just do this preponderance of at the sentencing hearing, the district court resolved several disputed issues of fact. For example, so now they had this sentencing pre-sentence report, and then they have a sentencing hearing. And we saw this with Alex Jones as an example. They had already defaulted on defamation. It was already done and over. Then they just went through the sentencing part, okay? And they had basically what you saw was a hearing trial just on the sentencing. And sentencing for him, it was damages, what that was going to be, but it's the same idea. So they have this. Now, in this, they're able to present evidence and whatnot, and they go through this, but this isn't before the judge. And some of this once again, this standard that it's before the judge, it's not before the jury. And this standard is just the bottom barrel, okay? The judge just has to think it might have happened. So Ulbricht, for example, is clarified several disputed issues of fact. For example, because Ulbricht contested his responsibility for the 5 commissioned murders for hire, the district court found, by preponderance of the evidence, that Ulbricht did in fact commission the murders, believing that they would be carried out. The district court characterized the evidence of the murder for hires, which all included Ulbricht's journal, chats, and other Silk Road users, and evidence showing that Ulbricht actually paid a total of $650 Bitcoin and $1,000 in Bitcoins for the killings as, quote, ample and unambiguous. Yeah, so it goes on here. Let's see, where else do they talk about preponderance? There we go. We'll just keep going on these. Then the court turned to the 6 drug-related deaths described in the PSR. See, this is the problem. Though this is really a problem, and it's shocking to me that the appeal, even for the sentencing on like your 8th Amendment right, cruel and unusual punishment. I understand they offered him 10 years and a plea, and he didn't take it. So he said, no, we're going to trial. Now the problem is you're going to trial in federal court. And I'll have to look. Was this which district was this? I'll have to look at. I don't want to lose. We'll go up here. Let's go all the way to the top and see which district this is. 2nd Circuit. Where's the 2nd Circuit at? Is that up by Arizona? I'm not sure. Okay, so let's keep going here. Court's object. The district court found that the deaths were related conduct relevant to his sentencing. See, and that to me is problematic. If it's related to his conduct related to his sentencing, then you should have, murder for hire, then bring that fucking shit to court, right? You didn't get to bring it into trial, but then you're relevantly using it for the sentencing. This is why I think Trump really called them scum when he talked about this. For a few reasons. One, you're going to offer him 10 years. It's a website, and you guys can say whatever. I know Ryan Dawson has gone out and he's, shown why he's guilty, perhaps. But even murder for, I've been listening to this podcast called The Kill List, and it's all about people going on a website that they think is real, and it's not it's a scam website. And you pay to have someone killed, and they are not killed because the guy just takes your money, takes your hundreds of thousands of dollars, over millions probably, takes your Bitcoin, and nothing happens. Now, some people were able to get into this website, and they saw all these reports coming, and then the idea is the person placing this on this website, because you're not just going to give thousands of dollars, like $10,000 to have someone offed. As a joke, if you know it's a scam, you're doing it because you think it's going to happen. So the reality is that the website's a scam. It's not to police, although the police have now taken it over. It's to someone else who's just taking your money. But those people still want those other people killed. So they've gone out there, and then some people have been prosecuted. You're not talking about life sentences, people. Even though this is an overt act on an attempted murder. Murder attempt is still much different than attempted murder is still much different than actual murder. So it's still, now, is this considered, you have to have usually for an attempt what they call an overt act. You're doing something, and paying money to put something into the wheels here. Yes, that could be. Now, if you're saying, oh, it was 6 of them, but even the guy that he was putting the hit on has come out and said, no, I don't think he was putting the hit on me. So who knows? There's a lot of detail you can get into here. You can read this whole 139 page appeal as I did, which breaks down, was this him? They think it was. But once again, this standard is so loose. And a lot of these, it could very well have been the actual FBI, agents in there on his computer, sending it to him themselves, stealing his money and whatnot, because they did. So I think I think 2 different ones went to jail. So I don't have a problem. And, you know, it's the Michael Knowles, the typical ones. He's not complaining about, he didn't make the same comment about J6ers, right? And you're like, oh, they're political prisoners. Yeah, there's some of them that weren't doing all that great. There was a lot of them that just did nothing. Okay, you were talking about nothing. There were some that weren't all that great. Okay, but he's not doing that because at his core, Michael Knowles is kind of what a piece of shit. I don't know. It's a little odd. You know, they'll bash. It's like Toad. They'll bash libertarians and then suck. Toad's the other way. Toad's is a libertarian, but then hates Malay, and he sucks Malay off. And anyway, so who knows? Should we keep going here? Probably not. Let's see where else they talk about preponderance. Okay. Which it's all over in here. It's mentioned 9 different times in this part. The district court's factual findings at sentencing need be supported only by a preponderance of the evidence. Where we identify procedural error in sentencing, but the record indicates clearly that the district court would have imposed the same sentence in any other event, the error may deemed harmless, avoiding the need to vacate the sentence and remand for sentencing case for resentencing. So I just want to talk, if we're going to talk about, and by the way, I don't do these kind of cases, so maybe it's me and my libertarianness that have a problem with this. But it seems to me if you're going through and it's beyond a reasonable doubt, then you don't get to come back and sentence them on such greater parts. One, stuff that wasn't clarified in court. It's not before the jury, and 2, that the judge gets to do it on a preponderance of the evidence. That seems like to me pretty shitty, and maybe I don't know it, and I'm totally wrong on this. Could be true, but I don't believe so. Hi all, I'm a Pomona this week for a conference. Okay, hi Jess. Hi everybody. Hi JC. Should have been charged with that to start with. Yeah, I swear I saw a documentary that said the whole murder scene was a setup. Yeah, I mean, he's claiming that, and I believe that. I tend to believe that that's the case. I mean, you look at Ross, he just doesn't look like the guy. And reason I'm saying that is, for what reason, right? Their point is, everything was closing in on him, and therefore he had to do this. It's like, I don't know. I understand that his computer was in such a way that when he got caught, I think he turned around and he could have had a kill on it where it would just fry the computer, but he wasn't able to shut it in time for it to all dissipate. They were already mixed up in there. I mean, it seems like to me, and by the way, they're saying now it's like 38 billion. I think his Bitcoin that they subverted and took from him would be worth now. I hope he had just had one wallet out there with just 1,000 Bitcoin, and he's still good to go. But with all the money that he had, I mean, for me, I would be like, okay, what's the amount you need? I would just be gone. I wouldn't put out murder for hire. I would just be gone. I mean, it doesn't make sense. There's certain things some people, and by the way, I guess I can't always, say this because you will have people that will murder their spouse instead of getting a divorce. And it's not always for money. So, sometimes it's difficult to understand. It will be interesting to see if he comes out and makes a podcast, if he talks to anybody about this. Let's see here. Reason Magazine, voters, 2025 staff. So this is also, see if they, well, now I can't find it in there. So I want to talk about that, which is the complaints about, Ross Ulbricht and the voting too, because that was also find that one. Okay, let's go to this. This was so Sal comes out here, and he's known for stealing stuff, but let's maybe not the. Can you see it? Okay, there you go. So he comes out here and he goes, "We've been working to free Ross for a decade. Angela McArdle was irrelevant until a few months ago. Don't let her take credit for a movement-wide effort. You did this, not some LP bureaucrat." And then Adam says, this guy steals credit like he steals content. I had a better one here. Let's see if I'm sorry, I'm trying to find this here, but it's a response to him that I think is I think is good because here we go. Okay, so this is what I put out there. I said, here's what you sound like. I've been trying to get my wife pregnant for 10 years. Her boyfriend wasn't in the picture until recently. Don't let her boyfriend take credit for impregnating her when I was trying for so long. I mean, it's kind of stupid, right? Which is, and someone's coming out there and they're like, no, it's, trying to do some other things. And I'm like, it's about impotence. The LP and Sal were doing nothing forever, right? And this is where I've talked about where's the path for the LP. Now, I was going to talk about, because I really wanted to take on the Reason magazine dopes as well, which is, during the election, they came out with their whole thing. I did a show about it, right? And I ripped them to death on that point too, which is they're voting for Chase, they're voting for Kamala. Someone wanted to write in Nikki Haley. One, they didn't understand the assignment because it said, who are you voting for? It was like a real simple question. And they couldn't answer the fucking question. Billy Binion and everyone's all over the place. And some of them just never answered the question. They just pontificated about stupid shit. So I went and I ripped them all because there's only one, and I'm trying to remember her name, Liz Wolfe. She's the only one that said she was going to vote. Is this the camera? Does this other one? Yeah, there we go. That she was going to vote for Trump. She's the only one. Now there was another one, I don't know, Chamili or one of those other people that said he might, but he wasn't sure because one, he didn't understand the assignment. Who are you voting for? And if you just say I'm undecided, that's really what you go out. But then, the first day in office, Trump's out there saying, first day in office, I'm going to commute his sentence. And first day, now, what is the first day? He gets inaugurated. It's like noon. Was it noon my time? No, it was 9:30 or so. So it's noon Eastern. He's in there, half day. So you're like, okay, is it 24 hours? Is it the first full day? Anyway, he does it within 30 some hours of being inaugurated. It was the second full day, or his first full day. It was the second day of the presidency. And already there's people all upset. And I'm like, one, he fucking fully pardoned him, like a full pardon. And then instead of a commutation of his sentence, it's a full fucking pardon. And he got let out and it was fine. It was 36 hours. But here's what the problem is with a bunch of the libertarians, which is, I mean, like for me, I'm personally like, you don't have to care or want, Ross freed. But here is a chance where someone out there said that with the power, one, to actually release him. Okay, day one, day two, whatever. First month, right, would have been fine. I mean, even at the end of his presidency would have been fine unless he got shivved in jail or something like that. He should have done it the first time, but, I think we can all tell from right now, there's a difference. This 4 years maybe have made a difference. And some of it might be him listening better to better people, but maybe to the public. And some of that was like, hey, I needed the libertarians. It was going to be a close election. Why not take a lot of their votes and then give them something that they want? And this is what they wanted. And the reason types are like, yeah, but I'm going to vote for Chase. Because then don't start writing magazine articles, which Nick Gillespie was doing right away. Is he going to do it? Is he going to make his prom? And I'm like, motherfucker, yeah, write this article, but you yourself could have voted for him. You're in New York. You vote for Chase. And the only reason is so that you have some of the moral clarity of I was able to do that. And I actually feel this way, which is I was able to participate in the release of Ross Ulbricht because it was a big deal. And that's the one reason I voted for him. Now, did it make a difference in California? No. But did it maybe make a difference overall? Maybe. And you know what? It's something I can at least hang my hat on as well. So there you go. There's that part. Someone said he Agars made Ross free. What? Agor is Ross? I don't know what that's saying. It's very short-sighted. Oh, for fuck's sake. Sal, JC. Yeah, okay. What else you guys got here? Forrest Mommy says the people who are bitching the first day have done nothing of political importance in their life. Yeah. Hody Johns, he did a long post about it, just complaining and all kinds of stuff. He didn't vote for Trump. So I just put on the top there, I said TLDR, I'm still as annoying as you would imagine. And he put underneath it something like reading comprehension is difficult, and then blocked me. I'm like, what's wrong with these pussies? Reason people could be actually helping fight government instead of whatever it is that they do. Yeah, well, they're seem to be mixed up there. I tell you, Liz Wolfe is seemingly coming much different than some of the others. I don't mind Zach Weissenmuller. It seems to be at least a reasonable guy, but some of them are just impossible. And by the way, Nick, back at the last thing, I had a great conversation with him. He was going to come on the show, and then has he? No, he has not come on the show yet. Tough. I was going to play. We could do a little bit of a video on Trump freeing Ulbricht, but I don't think that we necessarily need to do that. We did the other part. What about? Let's go here. By the way, this used to be a problem if you went to the wrong website, but if you went to whitehouse.com, it was not anything you really should be going to. Okay, America is back, says Trump. We can look at some of these executive actions. First 100 hours, historic action to keep. I mean, he's been doing removing barriers to America. And by the way, I think some of the executive orders are bullshit, right? And you got to be somewhat consistent. Overreaching government stuff. I have a problem with it. Now, it is nice to put the boot on the other side a bit. I get that, and so I'm not. And here's the deal: a lot of the executive orders. If they're not legit, they're going to be, pushed back legally, and there's going to be, some overturning of those. And so I'm perfectly fine with that. Declassified records concerning the assassination of President JFK. Let's take a look at that, because I think they still are not going to actually release them all. They still have a few days for this committee to release them. There's a lot in here. Within 45 days of the date of the Director of National Intelligence, is that Tulsi? I don't know. And the Attorney General shall, in coordination with the Assistant and the President of the National Security Affairs and the Council of the President, review records related to the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and present a plan to the President, full, ample, complete release of these records. So I believe it's the same for JFK. Kennedy. It's been more than 50 years. Get those things out there. There was another video that I saw, and I don't know. I don't think the driver did it, but I still think there's so much there. This is, I've talked about this a bit, but I'll refresh your memories here. I did a breakdown. I want to say it was in 67, 68. CBS did a 4 or 5 night series on the Warren Commission report. And so they were breaking it down, and they're, things like, could the gun have been up in the book depository on the fourth or fifth floor, whatever it was up there. And so then they ask some people, they do this whole breakdown, and they some witnesses, the ones that walked in that day with Lee Harvey, where he claims, or they claim, or he had claimed to them, he had it in a bag, were curtain rods, okay? And he had them snug. The guy says it was under his armpit, and it held in his hand, his arm was straight. And now the gun he had could not have broken down that way. And so they have like 4 or 5 different steps of trying to break this down. And each person that they're talking to, each bit of evidence points towards it's not possible that the gun was up there. So then they go back to Cronkite, or I'm trying to remember, Dan Rather. He was doing the reporting there, and he goes, so, after all this evidence, do we believe, and the Warren Commission believes that the gun could have been up there, do we believe that this could have happened? Yes, we do. And I'm just like, well, then why'd you present any evidence? Because the evidence all pointed, even at a preponderance of the evidence, a clear and convincing evidence, perhaps, that it did not rise to that standard, and it wasn't going there. So it was, it's gaslighting at the greatest. And the problem is, and I think this happened with JFK specifically, was you muddy it, you don't let everything out there, you let the conspiracies rile themselves up to the point where you have some great ones out there. But there's this one chick that said that she was in love with Lee Harvey, but she had a husband, and they worked together at this place that was actually a CIA place, right down in Texas there. And that they were in love. and they were so in love, and she's hideous looking, and she's still peddling this story, and this is the most ridiculous thing. It was not. So anyway, there's some conspiracies out there that just don't really make sense. Federal recognition of the Lumbee tribe in North Carolina. Okay, I don't know what that is. Executive grant of clemency for Terrence Sutton. Who's Terrence Sutton? Let's take a look. His convictions. Is this a J6er? Okay. What about Ray Epps? Did he get one? Nominations for transmitted to the Senate. Okay. Ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. Keeping Americans safe in aviation. Guaranteeing states' protection against invasion. Is that immigration? Cartels as terrorists. Some of these may just not pass the muster. Ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs. See, this is great. And by the way, when he came into office and he was throwing out a bunch of these EOs, these executive orders, they were overturning the original order that Biden had done, for his example. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And it was funny because he's doing all these, and then you get the crying crap people, on TikTok and whatnot, about what an authoritarian it is. And I'm like, it's kind of the definition of the opposite. Establishing and implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency. So this is DOGE, America First policy directive to the Secretary of State. Probably, if it says Israel anywhere in this, let's see here. Israel. Nope, it doesn't mention the word Israel. That's encouraging. So I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to assume that it's kind of crappy, but not. Protecting the United States from foreign terrorists. Okay, unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. Protecting the American people against invasion. This must be immigration thing. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, global tax deal. I want to see him kill some taxes here. Reevaluating and realigning United States foreign aid. Let's see here. I'm just going to, once again, Israel. Didn't come up. That's interesting. By authority vested in me as president in the Constitution and the laws of the United States, it is hereby ordered the purpose. The United States foreign aid industry and bureaucracy are not aligned with American interest and, in many cases, antithetical to American values. They serve to destabilize world peace by promoting ideas in foreign countries that are directly inverse to harmonious and stable relations internal to and among countries. Okay. Policy. It is a policy of the United States to no further that no further United States foreign assistance shall be dispersed in a manner that is not fully aligned with the foreign policy of the president. A 90-day pause, okay? But I think this is the one that is all departments, review of the state's foreign assistance program, reviews each foreign assistance, OMB, determinations, 90 days, blah, 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 resumption of pause, waiver. Secretary may waive pause in Section 3 for specific programs. Okay, so that gives, I don't know. Is this the one that still allows for Israel? Perhaps. Temporary withdrawal of all areas on the outer continental shelf from offshore wind leasing. Okay. Declaring a national energy emergency. Restoring accountability for career senior executives. Promoting beautiful federal civic architecture. Okay. Restoring the death penalty and protect. Okay. Putting people over fish, stopping radical environmentalism to provide water to Southern California. Yikes. Let's take a look. This isn't too bad. We'll read this one. Putting people over fish. By the way, this reminds me of Troy McClure. He had a fetish where he was wanted to, I think, have sex with big sea mammals and fish. And that was a problem because he married one of the Bouvier sisters, and I think they broke up because he had a giant swimming pool with a fish tank or something like that. It was pretty awful. I hereby direct the Secretary of Commerce and Secretary of the Interior, in consultation with the heads of the other departments and agencies of the United States as necessary, to immediately restart the work for my first administration by the National Marine Fisheries Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Bureau of Reclamation, and other agencies to route more water from Sacramento, San Joaquin Delta to other parts of the state for use by the people who are desperately need to a reliable water. Now, water is a big issue in Northern California. If you drive up and down the I-5, you see big canals type of thing that, you know, we in Northern California ship a lot of water to the south. And it's been a big issue over the years, right? There have been some problems with all this. Now, we also dump a ton of it into the ocean. So, I mean, I don't know if the water is being rerouted because of a fish issue or not. During my first term, the state of California, the director of its governor, filed a lawsuit to stop my administration from implementing improvements to California's water infrastructure. My administration's plan would have allowed enormous amounts of water, to flow from the snowmelt and rainwater in rivers in Northern California to beneficial use in the Central Valley and Southern California. The catastrophic halt was allegedly in protection of the Delta smelt and other species of fish. Today, this enormous water supply flows wastefully into the Pacific Ocean. The recent deadly and historically destructive wildfires in Southern California underscore why the state of California needs a reliable water supply and sound vegetation management practices in order to provide water desperately needed there, and why this plan must immediately be re-implemented. Within 90 days, the date of this memorandum, the State Secretary of Commerce and Secretary of the Interior shall report to me regarding the progress made in implementing the policies in this memorandum and provide any recommendations regarding future implementation. So, you know, this is going to possibly be a states' rights issue. What do the states have? What is the federal government? How do they even have anything to do with this? You know, it depends, because we've talked about this before, that you can have strings tied to money, right? So if California is taking money for certain federal things, you can say you've got to do X, Y, and Z to do this. We talked about this where the speed limit in the U.S. used to be 55 everywhere because federal government, if you wanted funds, they said 55. I think Nevada wasn't taking any of this money, so their speed limit was higher. There you go. That's one thing you can do. And it's been established that you can do this. There are certain provisions you've got to worry about with that, but yes, you can. Border, protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. Is this the 14th Amendment one? Because this one, yes. Okay, one, let's just, we need to just get rid of the 14th Amendment. I've talked about that a few times. Aaron McIntyre said something about wait till they hear about the Equal Protection Clause. And I'm like, yeah, first of all, the 14th Amendment shouldn't even be in the place. It wasn't even correctly ratified. And the situation with that, I believe, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, they tried to pass this, but at the time, just right after the Civil War, the states were in flux, and the southern states, were they even part of the U.S. at this point? Well, they passed the Civil Rights Act, but it was not technically passed because the southern states weren't even participating, I think. So they did decide that it wasn't valid. So they draft up this 14th Amendment as kind of a pretense and replacement of that. And they go and do it, and they vote, and it misses it by one vote. And then that guy, they kicked out of Congress, and then the vote passed. A miracle. So there's some question about the ratification of the 14th Amendment. Now, was the 14th Amendment meant to do what it's, and I put in this tweet, I said, hey, it wasn't even really ratified, and, you know, this stupid shit about the incorporation. People came back at me like I was just a complete idiot. Matter of fact, I think that's even what one guy was saying. But I'm like, it was never intended. And he's like, no, it was always intended. You don't know what you're talking about. So I'm like, what about Barron v. Baltimore? I think that was what was before? It was 1830 something, I think, a case. And it specifically said in there, the Bill of Rights were not intended to the states, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's plain and simple in that ruling. And this is what, I'm just giving this as pretensive. I think this is what's going to happen now with this one. Trump is basically talking about birthright citizenship, you know, and it's talking about the 14th Amendment. We've really said, hey, you know, an anchor baby type of thing. So we'll have to look through this in a little bit more in depth. Like I said at the start, I do have my book, Government by Judiciary, which touches on, this is all 14th Amendment. It touches on that portion a little bit, and we can talk about the intent at the time. Was that the intent? And maybe this is a time for the 14th Amendment to get a rework in the Supreme Court. I think a judge just did overturn this right away and say, no, that's not the case. But, you know, that's just an appeals judge. So let's see. Do we have any other ones here? How about freeing Snowden? Yeah, Snowden, Roger Ver. We all need to take some looks at these ones. Here's my, I don't know if there's a problem with it, but when we were waiting for Ross to get freed, and then it feels, I don't know about how to say this right, but it feels a little weird then to start just yelling about everybody you want freed, right? It's like, let's focus on getting these ones. Hey, he did it. I don't want to overstep my bounds, but yes, I think Snowden, Assange should probably be, both of those should be pardoned. Assange should be done just so that he's okay with, we don't have any issues. There shouldn't be, but you've got a lot of people that really hate these guys too. So, your Michael Knowles types, right? So it's a little bit touchy subject there, but yeah, I think those, and then Roger Ver, I don't know if you looked into that one. That one seems to be where he tried to do the right thing, and then the government's coming after him, and it's total bullshit. There was a similar case that went, I think, before the Supreme Court last year, and I almost think that I do think that they won. And it was, here's the breakdown that I understand, which is Roger Ver decided to give up his citizenship or, get citizenship somewhere else. Now, by the way, hang on. Here's Roger's book. I've read a little bit of it, and you Bitcoin Maximus probably hate me for even reading this, right? Because it's a whole thing about the hidden history of Bitcoin and hijacking it. So Roger Ver was kind of the granddaddy. He really was an advocate of Bitcoin. Now this one breaks down the fork and the split and some of the problems in there. It's interesting that a lot of the people he goes after is, and it's interesting to see, because I know you guys are going to hate this, but Safadine Amus, he takes him on fairly good, and it seems legit to me. But I know you guys treat him like some sort of god, which is weird, because he's heathen. No, he's I don't know, Muslim or something like that. I don't know what he is actually. I don't really care. I was just trying to make a bad joke. So where are we at? Roger Ver. So he decides he doesn't want his citizenship, or I think he's going to get citizenship in another country. Basically, moves out. I think it's, and when you do that, they basically tax you at your property values of everything, all your ownings, your assets in the United States at the time. So he's got all this Bitcoin. So you've got to basically do an evaluation. What is it as if you were to liquidate everything right now? This seems like to me a horrible thing to have, but this is the way our country is. It kind of gets you. And by the way, these are the kind of things where you get all these Americans, if your guy gets in office, I'm going to move to wherever. Yeah. How about denouncing your citizenship? Would you do that? And then you just give all your money away. So what they have to do is do an evaluation of what your house, what are all this property if you were to sell it. So Roger gets a law firm, and they break down, if you were going to sell these, your coins, your everything in the market right now, what would it be worth? Well, they did an evaluation. They believed from accounting that you can't just flood the market. It's not, this is like Newtonian physics and Einstein physics, okay? Newton came up with great laws of physics for force, all this kind of stuff, but he didn't take into account real world applications, such as everything when you do under Newton, it's all considered in a vacuum, right? You don't consider friction, wind, all these other things. It's just very basic. Einstein took that to a different level, and you incorporate all these other aspects in life, right? Friction, right? Anyway. So ball rolling down a hill is much different in real world wind and whatnot, rocks and whatnot, than it is just in Newton's life. So with the same thing with trading, you can't just say, oh, here's the value on this date. Here's boom, boom. Here's what the money would be. Because if you flood the market, it's going to make a difference. In the market, we've often seen this. I don't know if you guys watching this, they call it curbs in, and they will start stopping the orders from flowing the way they are. They stop them, put basically like a curb in there, a speed bump in a sense of being able to just you can't just sell. Sometimes when the market's selling off, they will do that. Okay. So there's certain aspects you can't do this. So this firm comes in and they have this idea and they're like, you can't just sell it all at once. So they do a breakdown of you're selling this and this and this, and they give a value. Now, he moves out, it's been all fine. And then the government comes in, they don't like him and they go, no, you still owe us for whatever. And so now they have an arrest warrant, I guess, out for him for that, which seems pretty bad. I mean, he didn't intend, this is the problem. Dave made this comment the other day, which I had not thought about, but he was very much like, I'm wondering, is Dave Smith going to law school? Which is, your taxes are a violation of your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. Okay. One, searches and seizures, and then your right for self-incrimination. You have no choice but to file your tax return unless you're Dan Berman, and then you say, taxation is theft, and you don't have to do it. I don't believe him though. Wesley Snipes, right? He tried that. Because if you don't, you're going to go to jail. So they get your documents whether you want to or not. Then you have to provide them with everything that is self-incriminating, right? So you've got those two aspects, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting prospect there, Dave. Anyway, that's Roger Ver, and yeah, I would hope that he gets pardoned too. He gave Clint some Bitcoin Cash at one point. Okay, did we get all these things here? 90-day pause might sink Ukraine. That's true. Only U.S. flag at government outposts. Okay. Jay Fort said also starred in a Planet of the Apes musical. Absolutely. That, by the way, Jay Fort, good to have you back. I haven't seen the chat for a while. There was a tweet. It's all the, you might remember me from such films as whatever. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. It was a tweet about all those ones in there. Can I find it? I don't know that I want to. I'm not going to play it, but maybe we can just browse through it. I save a lot of things in my bookmark, and then I never really get back to it. Although this is one I should play here. This should have been the outro video. Okay, let's play. This is glorious. This is glorious. I'll make sure. I hope the Twitter volume's good. Okay, people. This is what happens when you go to church.
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered. I don't like men no more. I said I like women. Women. I said women. I'm not gay. I would not date a man. I would not carry a purse.
Wait, what? Do gay men have to? This guy obviously was very, very gay. Not date a man. I would not wear a purse. Okay, let's just double check that.
I would not carry a purse.
Carry a purse.
I would not put on makeup.
Oh, shit.
I will.
So, this guy has the best, I mean, let's be honest here, right? Gay guy, you might as well go full out. I ain't talking about tranny, but he's really going, he's like, look, if you're gay, you're putting on makeup, you're wearing a purse. He's like, not that I did, but I'm not going to do that none's more, right? Let's just go back here and find out what he's not going to do.
I would not date a man.
No.
I would not carry a purse.
No.
I would not put on makeup.
No.
I will love a woman. Now listen to what.
Okay, that guy, he's got a.
I want to say a few words about protecting TikTok.
Oh, fuck you, Schumer. That's not what I meant to do. Okay, I'm going to keep looking here for additional things. Oh, that's, you know what? We're going to just cruise Twitter. We're going to cruise Twitter for a bit. I wanted to play this one too.
And the hypocrisy is what gets...
Okay, honey. Is she pregnant? She's not looking so bad. I mean, you know, back in the day, I would.
There need to be Democrats who walk the walk and talk the talk. There is an insane amount of hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy is what gets exploited to use the cynicism. And
now she's only going to point out hypocrisy of little things because she's full of hypocrisy as well. That's what's boosting her titties.
Wherever there's a hypocritical window, for example, I think one of the most biggest examples of this is insider trading in Congress. Like,
dude,
I don't I don't know if I like, do I give snaps? I don't know what the kids do anymore, but like, dude.
It is
that's so crazy.
It's so crazy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, like and this is the thing. It's like people think that everyday people are stupid. I'm like, do you all really think that people don't see this shit? Like,
they sit on a committee, they get information about a drug or a contract or a thing. They immediately make a call. The stockbroker changes things, and their portfolio swells.
Explodes. It explodes.
What are we doing?
And you're doing this on public trust.
Right.
On like taxpayer finance, public, facilities. Like of course.
You're regulating the market that you're trading on.
Exactly. And
you
like
run the casino.
And then we're supposed to act like money doesn't only corrupts Republicans? Give me a fucking break.
Okay. I mean, I would explode. Yeah. So it's a little bit of insight into that. So I used to work in a brokerage firm. I did trade disputes. And so I had 4, 24, 6. I had all my license. 6, 7, 24, 4 options trading. Anyway, so it's been years. But I still do a lot of options trading, actually. But when you do that, you've got to declare, either on your options or when you're working at do you work for a broker dealer? Do you own more than 10% of a publicly traded company? Do you work for a company? So you've got to declare these kind of things. And by the way, you can have, I think it was Colin Powell when he was under Bush, when I worked at this company, he had an account with us, and it was a hidden account. In other words, he was blind. He couldn't actually do anything in there. Now, I think that's when you're in the administration, but you've got these, these losers like they talk about in Congress. It blows me away. Martha Stewart went away for insider trading, which was very suspect. And if you look at the law on that, it's kind of easy to get caught up with it, but it shouldn't be. And you got these losers that are doing it all the time. It's interesting that she is making those comments. I mean, that, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Okay, I'm going to look here. I'm still going through. I want to find, it's a golf one, something else. Trump doing something. Liberty, John Stossel, FBI. Okay, maybe we should talk about this one. This is a Ross Ulbricht one. So let's just we'll kind of get back into this, and then we'll head out pretty soon. But my wife, I think she went and hang out with
the FBI. Shut down Silk Road, the online drug site. They called that a major victory over drug abuse.
Silk Road generated more than $1 billion in illegal business.
The most sophisticated and extensive criminal marketplace on the internet today.
Because people bought drugs on the site anonymously. Silk Road's founder had bragged the state is unable to get its thieving, murderous mitts on the site. But he slipped up. He accidentally used his real name, Ross Ulbricht, on an internet forum, and the state found him.
The FBI has arrested the reputed mastermind of a popular online black market for drugs.
Then Judge Catherine Forrest said because Silk Road was a black market of unprecedented scope, she would sentence Ulbricht to life in prison with no possibility of parole ever.
But possibility of pardon, yep.
He said, Mom, it's a death sentence. It just takes longer. And he's right. This is for all nonviolent charges.
She and others say it was unfair to lock Ross up forever for a nonviolent crime. But why should we care? Who was Ulbricht anyway? He seemed nice enough.
Pretty sure I want to start a family in the next 5 years.
As a kid, he was a quiet nerd, then an Eagle Scout, excited to go to college. But in college, he became a libertarian, and he wrote, I want to use economic theory as a means to abolish the use of coercion. Coercion, meaning force. He viewed laws against drugs as coercion, force that stops peaceful people from living the way they want. He was right, but many Americans hate and fear drug use.
You're breaking up the social fabric of our country.
They applauded when the judge announced Ross would be in jail forever.
This is a judge who finally got it right.
Right. All right. We all agree here on that?
Concur.
Life in prison without parole?
Yep.
That is a bit odd, right? Because they're talking about drugs and drug, and he wasn't a drug dealer, as I think Thomas Massey or someone said the other night. Visa is doing a lot of the things, and you can get a prostitute with your credit card, and Visa isn't held responsible for this. Now, Josie tried to make the claim that it was like a 230 thing, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. Selling drugs is against the law, or was against the law. A lot of them he was doing back then. So I don't know that you'd have any of those kind of protections under that court.
Anybody else?
And by the way, these two dumb shits. One of them was, I think Trump's son. This was his fiance, and they're no longer together. This is also the lady that Newsom cheated on with his wife. Then he was married to her. I don't know, maybe she cheated. I don't know. He was with her.
All right, we all agree here on that?
Concur.
Life in prison without parole?
Yep.
Anybody else, any other wise guys want to do it? That's what you're going to get.
Give me a break. Prison without parole is not going to stop the sale of drugs. We should have learned that from America's attempt at alcohol prohibition. Once you're an adult, if you want to buy intoxicants, it should be your right. Where that's legal, sales are done without violence, and the products sold are safer.
This is your brain on drugs.
Yes, many drugs are dangerous. Some who bought drugs on Silk Road died.
At least 6 people died.
His mother said...
At least 6 people died. I mean, come on. This is the standard you go in here. Okay, well, how many have died from issues over, 2020, where the government forced things and stopped you from working? So, these were people that consensually did this.
Violent guy. No.
Silk Road had some rules, at least, like nothing that harmed or defrauded. No child pornography was allowed.
But now that the government's closed Silk Road, replacing the site with this notice, other illegal sites have opened, and they offer more drugs.
These other sites, I've heard that they're just open season, anything. So they're actually worse and multiple times bigger.
She'd actually never seen them, so we used the web browser Tor to show them to her. It's not like they got rid of these things. Here's another one.
And by the way, Silk Road had 12,000 listings when it was taken down.
The new sites offer more than 100,000.
So I guess they weren't scared by Ross's life sentence, as the judge said.
But law enforcement keeps bragging about successes.
The dark net is not a place to hide.
Here's Attorney General Sessions announcing that they'd shut down another website.
We will use every tool we have to stop criminals from exploiting vulnerable people.
But the shutdowns hardly make a difference. New sites appear.
Now, critics will say, as we shutter one site, another site emerges.
Yeah.
And they may be right.
Well, they are.
But that is the nature of criminal work. It never goes away.
Never. Ever. Heroin. So they didn't...
Well, it doesn't go away, but neither does the money to fund to fight it, right?
Stop anything.
No, there was a spike after the sentence was given. It had the opposite effect. It's a travesty what's going on.
Still, I find it hard to support her son since he was also accused of trying to kill people.
A murder for hire plot.
Trying to hire a hitman.
It's completely digital evidence and hearsay, basically, by the government.
Ulbricht suspects an undercover cop planted those messages.
A mortgage company will not take a screenshot of a bank statement because they know how easily faked it is.
No one was actually killed, and the government didn't charge Ulbricht with murder for hire in his trial.
But let's just say, for argument's sake, that everything is true. The typical sentence for murder for hire when there's no murder, because there were no murders, to be clear, is 10 years. Double life plus 40 years without parole for a young guy who, was a zealot. He was a libertarian. He believed in free markets and voluntarism. He is not a dangerous person.
No American is safer because Ross Ulbricht is in jail for life. He's just one more casualty of our drug war. Drug dealers shoot each other, shoot bystanders, and corrupt whole neighborhoods.
Police, search warrant!
The police risk their lives and sometimes kill innocent people. Locking up Ulbricht won't make anything better. The drug war does much more harm than any drug.
All right, the mustachioed John Stossel. We do love him. Let's get in here. So, would you stick it in an AOC crazy or a crazy AOC? I think that's what. Let me just say, back in the day, I've done that. Okay, not her specifically. Let's be clear, but definitely crazy, and I got away with it. Can't keep getting away with this. But what I mean by that is, I didn't have kids with any crazies, and yeah, thank God. But yeah, sometimes that's fun, and sometimes you're led astray. I would not do it ever again. So that's I'm behind. That was Dwayne saying that. Stossel is the man. J4, yes, and hi JC. Garbage, deplorable. You're gonna hear this is gonna be in your future. You're gonna come to this. It's gonna be in the future. So because you're behind, you said I'm behind, but the foreign aid EO exempts Israel, Egypt, and Jordan. Yeah, I didn't say so on there, but I've been hearing that reported all over the place. I get that people don't like it, but at least some of that aid is part of a treaty that was ratified by the U.S. Senate decades ago. Yes, you have. Good point. So you have tiers, and I used to have a chart about this when I went through law school. You have treaties, you have executive, agreements between presidents. You have, acts of Congress, and there's a hierarchy of which ones take precedent over the other. So if there was a treaty in place, that would, I imagine, take precedent over an executive order. So Trump would be right about that. And then, of course, acts of Congress are going to take precedent over that. So blah, 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 blah. Good way to point that out. So yeah, and I believe, though, that Ukraine got stymied on some of theirs. Garbage, deplorable, bitter, clinger. That's you got to shorten that name down. How about just GDBC? I wish we could give Assange a medal for the domestic stuff, but still keep him locked up for the international stuff, to be honest. Yeah, we can't pick and choose. Well, we can. We can pick and choose, because if the president were to pardon him, it would only be on what he has precedence over plenary powers, which is to pardon you on federal charges. So if there's international or some other place, we don't know what's going on over there, but we could do it. We could do it for our side. I think that's perfectly fine. I think we're about done. Let's see. I was going through all these. I was going through these because I was trying to find the right bookmark. So let me scroll way down, see if I got any of this. Oh, you know what? Let's look at this. This is maybe the last one, and then we'll go after this one. So the Harvard Crimson comes in here and tweets, breaking. Move it down here. Guess we can't. Okay, well, let's just do this. There we go. Harvard reached settlements on 2 ongoing Title IX Title VI V1, that's 6 lawsuits accusing the university of mishandling anti-Semitism on campus for an undisclosed amount on Tuesday. And breaking, criticizing Israel government policy, and then you read that in there. So this is what FIRE is, their freedom, basically at schools. They used to be kind of taking on right-wing issues, but they will take on any issues of freedom, your constitutional rights at a school. Criticizing Israeli government policy can now get you punished at Harvard. Today, Harvard adopted an expansive version of the viewpoint discrimination IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, one that appears to make believe in Zionism a protected status. So I've talked about that before, and I think that's deplorable. It can't be constitutional, so you should be fighting it. But there's like 30-some states that have adopted this ridiculous definition. Now, I've talked about this, and I've done zero work on it since I first did something, which is I want to take the IHRA example of what anti-Semitism is. It's I don't know, 15, 20 different lines about, examples of what it is. And I said, I'm going to write this in a way, instead of, Israel, it's going to be BLM. Instead of Jew, it's going to be black. And I was, that was the whole idea. And I was going to make this a fake, I'm spoiling the game here, a fake law in California, proposed law, and then put it out there and see who it bites. But I think I've got a better one. I was listening to Glenn Greenwald talk about this exact issue, and he was kind of comparing it to, he said, look, you know, you think the Ben Shapiro's in the type, if this was LGBT, they would be okay? I was like, there's a much better point. Trans and LGBT, I'm going to make it that, and I'm going to, I say I'm going to, and I need to do it. That's just all there is to it. And I haven't done it. I haven't got to it. I'm still looking for the clip of all the, don't free Ross. Okay. Oh, this is, we go here. This is Brian, Ryan Dawson, basically saying, don't free Ross. Okay. Whatever, dude. He's already freed. Oh, you know, we should be looking at this. Look at Zuckerberg, check out her boobs, then smirk. Okay. There you go. I'm looking for the tweet about all the Troy McClure stuff. You know what? We'll finish it here, but actually I'm going to finish it with this one. So President Biden comes in here and says, today I'm affirming what I've long believed and what 3/4 of the states have ratified. The 20th Amendment is the law of the land, guaranteeing all Americans equal rights and protections under law, regardless of their sex. And of course, there's a community note that says the text of the Equal Rights Amendment contained a ratification deadline. The amendment was not ratified by the requisite number of states prior to that deadline. While some states have ratified the amendment post-deadline, the other states have revoked their ratification. By the way, the 14th Amendment had similar issues where ratification was not totally valid. Because some states had withdrawn that as well. So I think I will do maybe a midweek commentary on that, because I always say that. And this next week, let me just tell you, Monday, I've got a hearing in the morning. I got 2 hearings at the same time. I'm going to have 2 videos because I'm doing remote. I'm going to have my laptop and my other law, and then I have to do 2 of those. Then I have a hearing at 1 o'clock, nothing on Tuesday. Wednesday, I've got a 9 a.m. And then Thursday, I've got a 9 and a 1. And so it's going to be a crazy week. And I always want to do these shows. As Top Lobster said, the jail Ross. So I always want to do it. Zuck's most human moment. Yes, I believe you're correct on that one. So I always want to do these extra shows, and I just can't get to it. So people, I'm sorry. Did we meet our goal tonight? We got 0 chats there. We got, Northside. I think I saw your comments coming in here. Yeah, there we go. You're coming in here loud and clear now. Northside says, where did they go? Damn, imagine having to plead guilty to cuckoldery. Right. And then can confirm I saw kids who smoked mids back in high school stripping copper wiring down that track. Okay. Yeah, good stuff there. So I appreciate you. If Rekieta, there we go. If Rekieta had been to a mental institution, they would have cured his cuckoldery. All right. So I don't know if we just weren't getting those comments before, but we are getting them now. So all good stuff. I think that's it. I'm going to go and get some dinner. That's what we call it out here. It's 4:45. We've been doing this for an hour plus. I appreciate you all. But like I said, I did this last week where Sunday, it's just like telling the wife, I'm going to go upstairs and do a show. And so look for that. So you got to put no, we didn't meet any of our goals, by the way. So we didn't get any rants. We didn't get any, other things coming on here, which is perfectly fine. But make sure you like and subscribe to the show. Remember, and by the way, we can push this out better, which is if we ever get canned here on YouTube, look for my Substack, because that might be the place that we can go and meet everybody and kind of conglomerate there. We can do shows and stuff there as well, but there's a Substack out there. But if you go to Tyler Yonke on Twitter, you will be able to find all my stuff. But I appreciate everybody coming out here and having a good weekend. We will, JC says, oh my God, bye. I don't know how to say goodbye. So I'm always having a tough time saying goodbye to everybody, but we will, where's my outro stuff? But we will have a good one next week. I promise. I'm going to say one last thing and then we'll go here, which is, this is my problem. I have such great ideas. I have all this stuff. I start sending myself emails and I'm like putting up on a show. And then that's like Monday or Tuesday, because, I've just come off of the weekend and I'm kind of hyped to just did the show. And by the time I get to Friday, that shit's all gone, and it's like not relevant anymore. No one gives a shit anymore about it. But there you go. Okay, so we got a new different outro video. Thanks for everybody. Goodbye. Bye.
Because as you have really conceded, you shouldn't have ever had to have had guidelines to tell you that the federal government's chief law enforcement agency ought not to disobey the law. And really, you don't need explicit guidelines to tell you that, or you shouldn't have. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say that looking at it today, we should have looked at it that way yesterday. But I do feel that I don't have any doubt about the good faith of people recognizing a danger, feeling they had a responsibility, no matter whose fault it was, ours internally or because we weren't given the supervision we should have been given, and taking what they considered appropriate action.